we can teach new people to do pretty much anything. What we cannot teach is a passion for the industry. As you mentioned, I was at Activision for 13 years, got there when the company was about 100 people and grew to thousands. A lot of people try to use leadership styles that don't match their personality, and that doesn't really work out very well. It can be functional. To really excel, you need to learn what your sort of authentic style is, embrace that, and use that with the team.
Welcome everyone, I'm Batuhan from Mobidictum, and today I have Chris Hewish, Chief Strategy Officer at Xsolla, a company that helps publishers and developers to distribute and sell more games. Chris, you have been Chief Strategy Officer at Xsolla since January 2024. Before that, you have held roles as the interim CEO and president for the last 4 years. You are also the CEO of Longtail Games, a global publishing business and gaming platform for mobile and PC games. You have worked in companies such as Activision, DreamWorks Animation, Survios, Skydance. Your experience is incredible, managing more than 300 employees and generating more than $1 billion, 50 games. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Batuhan, and it is a pleasure to be here with you as well. We've worked together as companies for a few years, and we always appreciate what Moby Dictum and your team do. So it really is fun to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Chris, we will talk about your career and Xsolla today. Let me start with my first question. So, you've been in the industry for many years. Throughout the years, what shaped your career? What were the pivotal moments for you?
Certainly. So really it all began, one of the very first pivotal moments was when I got into the industry. And I'll tell a little story about how that happened and the lesson that came out of it, which is a lesson I've carried to this day. So when I got out of university, I really wanted to get a job in the games industry. And I had no connections, but I had a great passion for the industry. So I wrote a letter to my favorite games company, which is a company called Games Workshop, and I wrote a letter of recommendation, which I actually have on the wall behind me. And it was a fictional letter of recommendation because I had nobody in the industry to recommend me. So I wrote a letter from an orc war boss who recommended this human as a great candidate to hire and work at the company because of his passion for the games and his passion for the industry. And little did I know that, and this was the first lesson, that Games Workshop was looking for people that were passionate about their products. And they said to me, we can teach new people to do pretty much anything. What we cannot teach is a passion for the industry. And I've carried that forward to this day where, it really is a good lesson that if you're passionate about what you're doing, it gives you such a great advantage and allows you to get through a lot of the difficult times that any job, any career brings, and allows you to really go that extra mile to create something amazing. So that was a very early pivotal moment. And certainly there have been many others. As you mentioned, I was at Activision for 13 years, got there when the company was about 100 people and grew to thousands, and really had the honor of working with many, many talented people. A lot of moments there honing sort of my experience and technical skills around the business, learning the importance of managing the business through more of a P&L approach and treating that passion with a bit of a business element as well. So there's been a lot. Xsolla has been a great opportunity as well. So many great moments and learnings throughout the years.
That is so true. You cannot teach passion, right? That's something you are either born with, get it along the way. It worked out well for you because like amazing experience with many companies. How did you encounter with Xsolla?
So I really, when I came to Xsolla, as many people, I had heard about Xsolla throughout, the years in the industry, and the company has been around 19 years now. I joined almost 5 years ago, and I had just wrapped up a failed startup, an attempt, as many of us have had, at starting something sort of unique. And this was after working at Skydance and Survios and some other companies. And I was looking around, I'm like, okay, what do I want to do next, right? Do I want to go back into a big corporate company? Do I want to try another startup? And I had some friends at Xsolla who I had reached out to, and we were talking, and they said, you should really come talk with our founder. It's a great company, it's growing, and we're really looking for somebody that has the experience of running studios and working with cross-discipline teams and all of this. And I was not sure because I've always been on the content creation side. I went in and I spoke with our founder, Eric Agapatov, and was really impressed, right out of the gate, not only with his vision and what he was doing with the company, but personally for my career journey, I had really thought that I had worked on all sides of the industry. And I come to Xsolla and I start talking with people and I realize, oh my goodness, there's a whole side to the industry around empowering developers to go direct to their players, to take control of their businesses, payments, the commerce, all of that I had never really thought about. I had been a client, right, a user of these products, but I never thought much about them. And it really opened my eyes to an opportunity where I could learn a lot about a whole nother piece of the business. And also, I could work within the industry at a scale that I had never dreamt of before, where Xsolla works with thousands of games and developers globally, all over the world, all genres, all platforms. I said, wow, this is cool, right? I can learn a lot here and I can contribute a lot as well as the company continues to grow and build those relationships with developers, given my development background.
I mean, over the last 4 years, Xsolla's brand is everywhere, helping thousands of game developers. It's an amazing company, not because we're saying this because we are working together, but I've been in events for the last 4 or 5 years, and I always see like Xsolla. What are they doing? Now we are listening from you directly, which is great. You manage more than 300 employees throughout the career. Xsolla is a big company as well. What critical qualities make an effective leader? Tips and tricks for myself as well. Can you share your experience?
Absolutely. And amazingly, Xsolla is now over 1,000 people. I don't directly manage all of them, but I get to work with this massive team. And you're right, I've had the very good fortune to work with many talented teams, large and small. And really, I think there's a few key things that are important to do this effectively. And for me, it really is embracing that sort of servant leadership mentality where I really view my role as a leader as coming in and helping my teams perform at their best by listening to them, helping to build consensus, providing vision, which is obviously an important part of being a leader, but then helping the teams achieve that vision, which is sort of my approach. And I'll caveat this with the fact that there are many different styles of leadership. So I think first and foremost, as a leader, it is finding a style that is authentic to you. So authenticity is super important. A lot of people try to use leadership styles that don't match their personality, and that doesn't really work out very well. It can be functional. To really excel, you need to learn what your sort of authentic style is, embrace that, and use that with the team. But then also support yourself with people that can fill in where maybe that style has some gaps because every style has pros and cons. But generally, like I said, having real visionary thinking, being able to clearly communicate that to teams, empowering the teams to achieve that vision, and those are really some of the key things. And then obviously being adaptable. One of my favorite sports teams and sports coaches here in the United States is a team called the New England Patriots, and for many years they were a dominant player in American football. And their coach, Coach Belichick, had an approach that was a little different than other coaches, where other coaches would come in and say, "Here is my system, and I'm going to force everybody to follow it." Right? Whether it works for the individual players or not. Well, he had an approach which was much more, I'm going to learn what my players are good at and what they're bad at, and I'll build a system that takes advantage of their strengths, right, and minimizes their weaknesses. So he adapted to the team. And for me, that very much is an important lesson as a leader.
That's great experience, by the way. Like a great tip. I think based on the individual and creating a strategy around that. Last 4 years, you had different positions. So president, interim CEO, and chief strategy officer. Briefly, about the differences between these roles and what is the current role doing exactly?
Certainly. So when I came into Xsolla, I came in as president of the company. And at that time, the company was just beginning to experience some real dramatic growth. And as happens often in companies, there was beginning to be a little bit of just the team getting misaligned as a company grows rapidly, and you have a core group of people that have been with the company and gotten it to that point. Companies start to begin to have success and they bring in more experienced people from the outside. And often that can cause a little bit of sort of a culture clash. So one of the things I was brought in to tackle right away was to help to provide sort of a culture and an environment where everybody still felt empowered. The team that had gotten the company there, the new people that came in, and help everyone sort of work together and bring one another up. And that was something that I've done a lot at game studios, where you have to work with very different groups of people and build consensus and get them all to align and perform and create something great. So it was a great opportunity to help provide that framework for the team internally. And then also it was a great opportunity to come in and be sort of a voice for the company, not only with our partners, be able to have somebody that could go and speak authentically to partners about hands-on game development or managing studios or slates or whatever it might be, but also somebody that could speak with great folks like yourself and speak publicly about the company and share what we're doing to help get the message out. So those were really two key things that were the drivers for me coming in as president, and what the role sort of was all about. And then as the company grew, we more than doubled the business in the sort of the first 4 years that I was there. Excuse me. And we got to a point, and this is getting to the interim CEO role. There's a real lesson here as well. But we got to a point where the company had grown quite a bit, and like I said, over doubled in size with its staff and partners and everything. And we really needed to look at our leadership team and retool it for that next stage of growth, but do that in a way that was respectful, not just to the company and the team, but also to our partners. So that's when the founder asked me to step in as interim CEO for which was always agreed upon a short period of time, to help transition through this period, to help rebuild the leadership team, provide stability to our partners and to the public. So it was really fun. It leaned into a lot of the skills that I have. And during that period, we rebuilt our leadership team. We have with a new CTO, a new president, some other executives that we've brought in, as well as globally with a lot of the regional heads that we've put in place. So we kind of got past that and reached a point where it was like, okay, leadership team is retooled, we're good. There's a new venture that we really need someone to look at and build up because it's got a lot of opportunity. And that's what led to the transitioning over to the CEO of Longtail Games, while still maintaining that chief strategy officer role at Xsolla to sort of bridge between these different initiatives.
Very different hats you put
Yes.
in, and transitioning from role to role. The current state of the industry, we'll talk about that later on, is the boat is the shaking in general. What is the current strategy for Xsolla and upcoming 5 years, if you have future predictions?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's so much opportunity over the next 5 years, but it's still all when it comes to our strategy, it still is all about providing all of the tools, all of the solutions that any game developer would need to engage directly with their players. So to really go direct to consumer. And we continue to build upon all of those tools, and I can go through that a little bit in a moment. But part of this is also really taking everything that we've built for a lot of the biggest companies in the world and not losing sight of the fact that we still want to provide all of this to the small and mid-sized game developers out there as well. So one key part of our strategy that we've sort of re-articulated internally, this is around how we manage KPIs and all of this, is that we want to make sure that we're focusing on the entire industry, not just a few big companies, but everybody, because we really do believe in empowering developers regardless of their size. And that's a key part of our growth, because you also never know where hit games are going to come from. So it's good to cast a wide net. And that net that we cast really is focused on four key growth areas. So most people know us in the first area that I would call commerce. And that's really where we do our payments and our merchant of record business. We help with, just being able to run the business of your game and sell things and handle your taxes and VAT and all of that. So that's commerce, and we continue to build that up. That's an incredible part of the business. But we have three other parts of the business that we're really building up at this point. The second one is game tech. We've done a number of acquisitions over the past year, which has also been part of the role that I've had. That's where the chief strategy officer piece comes in. These acquisitions are helping to build up these new lines of business. So we acquired a company called Accelerate XR to help focus on cross-platform technologies, cross progression, just all of that. And that is sort of the core of our game tech business. And we have a whole host of other game tech solutions and products in there. We also are building up a really strong marketing tech or MarTech piece of the business. It's really anchored around being able to help our partners work with creators and influencers at scale. So we took a product that we had, Partner Network, which is a platform where you can post a campaign as a game developer or publisher to this platform, and there's thousands of influencers of all sizes, small and medium-sized influencers, who then run those campaigns, and we handle all of the business in between. We handle the attribution and the payouts and the KYC and all of that for that. We built through some acquisitions. We brought in Lightstream and Rainmaker, which are some great technologies to creators to get up and streaming right away through the cloud and audience management and all of this. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff going on in marketing tech, as well as retargeting partnerships and all kinds of things. And then the final thing that we're spinning up or have spun up and built is a B2C initiative, which can be found at x.la. And it really is one place where players, this is something that we've built for gamers, can come and engage with everything they would want they do in their gaming life. So if you're a player now and you want to buy or download a game, you go to Steam or Epic Game Store. If you want to get sort of a cool drop or new skin, you have to go to Amazon Prime Gaming here at least in the States. If you want to stream a game through the cloud, you have to go to Nvidia or Xbox. You're getting the idea. You have to go all over the place. If you want to top up a game account, you have to go to a marketplace somewhere. So we've brought all that together in under one roof, one destination, and really trying to make gamers' lives easier, where there's a single login and you can do all this cool stuff. So a whole bunch of things going on to grow the business. Hopefully that gives a little bit of an idea of where we're going directionally.
Well, we have so many technologies around, so like making things simple, effective, definitely helps and saves time for people. So many tools and technologies coming, and everything is for game developers to do better. So that helps the industry overall. But what do you think? What challenges do you have today?
Yeah, so I think some of the challenges that we have, I mean, the industry is always evolving and changing, right? So it's always a challenge to stay up to date on the latest technology, but also the latest regulations and laws that come up around the world. That's always been a challenge for us, and it continues to be a challenge, but one that we are happy to take on. We have a large team of people that are always keeping an eye out for these things, whether it's new technology, new regulations, whatever it might be, new laws that could impact the business, so that we can adapt and help our partners navigate those things. We continuously innovate. We're always, every quarter, we're kind of updating all of our solutions with new features that are in response to our partners' needs. We also really rely on our partners. We engage with them regularly to understand what challenges they're facing so that we can help them address it. So, that's kind of a high level idea of some of the challenges. I think some of the other challenges we're facing just as a company, we've grown to a certain size and scale, which always presents its own challenge. But we've been able to navigate that by bringing in that really talented leadership team that I've spoken about. And ongoing growing competition is always a challenge, but fortunately we kind of have first mover advantage against that, and we are always sort of adapting with new new features and offerings. And then, I think the final challenge, which again is fun, these are challenges, but they're opportunities and they're fun, is growing the business through ongoing mergers and acquisitions and M&A. I mentioned a number that we have done. We really see that as an opportunity to continue to expand what we offer to the industry, work with best in class talent as well.
Well, fixing the challenges, also creating new opportunities. So also we are in an industry that will rising unless we have another post-COVID or sunburst where we don't have any internet anymore. Till then, I think things should be fine. But when you look at the industry right now, there are like layoffs and studios shut down, less games are published. So this might affect the business overall. What do you think about the current state of the industry, and what do you think what will happen next year?
Yeah, I think the current state of the industry, it's interesting you ask that. I actually run a monthly confidence sentiment survey on LinkedIn, where I poll the games industry around 10 different questions related to how people are feeling, their sentiment about the industry. And I've done this for a few months now. And I'm still running the one obviously for June, but in May, I can go through some of the highlights there. I think I ask questions about things like funding, and I ask the types of funding that people are seeing that they're looking for or where they see opportunities. And 47% of the industry respondents were still looking for venture capital. Had come down from 60% in April, so there was a little bit of a shift, there where maybe they felt VC opportunities were drying up. But really half of them were reporting difficulties, 45%. Interestingly, that was down from 56% in April. So there was a shift to more private equity and other forms of funding in May that developers and games professionals were looking for. So a reduction in VC, but an increase in the ability to find funding, which I thought was really interesting. And then obviously employment trends, we all know about what's been the challenges that have been going on there. But there was a little uptick in optimism in May compared to April. In April, 38% of the companies that I spoke with expected to increase their workforces, whereas in May, this had risen to 47%. So it's showing that there's a slight increase in the number of companies that are now looking to expand, although there's still over half that are expecting reductions in workforce. And then when it comes to just general economic outlook, there was a feeling that the overall economic conditions for the industry would continue to rise. In April, 47% of the respondents felt that things would get better over the next year. This jumped to 72% in May. So something is happening where people are feeling much more confident about the year-long outlook for the economy, at least as it relates to video games. So hopefully it seems like people aren't too scared now of the sunburst effect, but that is always a big factor, right? If we can't connect. So I think a lot of other trends and challenges, but generally it seems like people are starting to find it a little bit easier to get funding, feeling a little bit better about the industry starting to maybe add more jobs, even though it's still losing quite a few, and just generally feeling that the overall economic outlook will be improved over the next year.
So some things are becoming better, but not yet. So we still
Exactly.
need time.
Exactly. We haven't crossed that bridge to where people are fully optimistic. So there's some light, at the end of the tunnel, but we're not through the tunnel yet.
Well, we have a conference coming up in October, so we are like, can we speed up? So because we are waiting a lot of people, Xsolla, they're coming for the last 3 years already. Chris, thank you so much for these insights. You have an incredible experience in the games industry. We're happy to have you growing the industry plus thousands of developers. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Batuhan. It was my pleasure. Thank you.